Party. It's great to see so many friends here this evening. Each year, we hold an event like this to thank the many party volunteers that work in their riding associations and support the efforts of our team at Queen's Park. And speaking of our team at Queen's Park, I want to introduce the members that are here tonight. From Waterloo, Wellington, Ted Arnott. From Alderman Norfolk, France, Toby Barrett. From Halton, Ted Shutley. From Oxford, Ernie Hardiman. From Erie Lincoln, Tim Hudak. From Perry Sound, Muskoka, Norm Miller. And from the riding of York North, Julia Monroe. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're here to celebrate a special occasion. You see, 1 year from tonight, we have a historic opportunity. Together, we're going to put an end to the promise-breaking Dalton-McGuinty government. 1 year from tonight, we're going to elect a government that will restore trust and accountability at Queen's Park. A government that will get things done. A John Tory, majority progressive. But my friends, we still have much work to do in the 365 days that lie ahead. And that's why tonight, I'm asking you to redouble your efforts, to reach out to your friends and neighbors, to raise money, to recruit candidates, and get ready for the fight ahead. We've come a long way in rebuilding our party in the last 3 years, and we should all take pride in what we've accomplished together. And in particular, we can be very proud of the fact that whether it be visiting every riding association, attending hundreds of party and community events, recruiting new candidates to join our team, or working hard to put our party on a sound financial footing, there is no one who has worked harder to rebuild our party than our leader, John Tory. I would now ask you to join me in welcoming Eleni Kalantzis, Shams Kara, and Marjorie Hiley to introduce our leader.
Good evening, everyone. Isn't tonight a wonderful night in Don Valley West? It's a great night to live in Ontario, and it's a great night to be a progressive conservative. My name is Eleni Kalantzis, and I'm a resident of Bennington Heights right here in Don Valley West. And I have the honor tonight of introducing the leader of the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party and our very own local son, Mr. John Tory. You know, John is the man who's going to lead us to victory in a year, in the next elections, and be the new Premier of Ontario. And a lot of people are finding out the hard way that it's absolutely vital that we have a premier and that he is somebody that has the ability, the strength, and the experience to lead this party and this province into an Ontario that can go back on track. John Tory is that man. He's worked hard in journalism, in law, and in business. He understands how important it is for us, no matter where we come from, to have the opportunity to succeed and to build a better future here in Ontario. He's given countless hours in volunteerism and charity work at St. Mike's Hospital, for the United Way, the Salvation Army, and the Canadian Paraplegic Association. He has dedicated himself to this community, and he's helped people who have needs. He's a Toronto native, and he and his wife Barbara have raised their family here. He's lived in this riding, right here in Don Valley West, and this is our community, and he knows our community. So it's obvious that John Tory knows and can take and be the representative of this Don Valley West riding. He has what it takes to be a great premier. You don't get the experience to be a great premier overnight. It's taken several years of hard work and dedication. John has that experience. He has the strength and the ability, and that's why I'm proud, and I stand up here delighted to introduce Mr. John Tory and to support him as our next Premier of Ontario.
Hello everyone. My name is Sham Shkara, migrated to Canada in 1973, and I am delighted to say a few words tonight about John Tory. I have known John as the youngest Principal Secretary during Premier Davis' era. He started his first campaign for Dennis Timbrell from this very building in October 1971. I have seen John as a successful business executive, and I have seen John as a dedicated volunteer. Living in Thorncliffe Park over a quarter century, I have seen the devastating effects on our community of guns, drugs, and crime. I have seen the immense challenges that parents face when trying to raise their children and to build a better future for themselves in an at-risk community such as ours. I am supporting John Tory because I know he cares about our community. I am supporting John Tory because I know he will do the best and right things to help our community. And I am supporting John Tory because I know he is a leader who will do what he says he will do. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to support. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to support John Tory here tonight. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm also here tonight to support John Tory. My name is Marjorie Hiley. I've been an activist for many years for this party. I work in the Flemington Park area. I'm a poverty law lawyer and executive director of the Flemington Community Legal Services. And I can sum up in one word why I'm supporting John: integrity. In a world where so many politicians will say and do anything to get your vote, John realizes your word means everything. In order to help others, they first must be able to trust you. In every single thing John has done in his career, he has been straight up, he's been honest, and he's been accountable for his actions. He does not pretend that there are problems that need to be solved. He doesn't pretend he can solve them all by himself. But he does believe that by working together with honesty, accountability, and responsibility, there is nothing that we can't achieve as a community. John does not go around town promising everything to everybody. That wouldn't be fair to our community, to the people that I work with every day. Instead, John is going to focus his efforts, and he will make sure that when he says something, he's going to do it. He's a guy you can rely on and count on, and already he has shown his record of honesty, integrity, and accountability. That's what I want to see in our next government. That's what I want to see in our next premier. And that's why it's my pleasure to introduce John Tory to you tonight.
Mr. John Tory. I want to begin by saying thank you to Eleni and to Shans and to Marjorie for their very kind words on my behalf as we come here tonight to celebrate only one more year left before we replace the... coming out here. I want to thank you for your encouragement and for your warm welcome. I think, considering it's the first game of the Leaf season tonight, that it's terrific to see you're so committed to the cause. I'm not going to speak for long, so you'll be home in time to catch some of the first one.
Very good. Very good.
I think, in fact, 2007 could be the year of the quadruple play. World Series for the Blue Jays, Ted Rogers would be happy I said that. Grey Cup for the Toronto Argonauts, I'm happy to say that. A Stanley Cup after 40 years for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and a majority progressive conservative government. I don't want you to worry about the fact that I am a shadow of my former self. You might have read in the media that I'm down 35 pounds. It's not because I look fat on television, which I did. It's not because people told me that I looked like John Carmichael, except a lot heavier. But it's because I still have a healthy fear of two people in my life. And one of them is my beloved wife, Barbara Hackett, who's up here with me, and the other one is my mother. One of them told me I was getting fat. If I should give you a clue as to which one, it's not the one that's up on stage. Anyway, I guess that's okay because it prompted me to go out and do something about it. And that's all for the good. And I'm in campaign trim and ready to go. I should
ago, I've made the argument and I repeat it tonight. There is still 1 year from today left before the election that will be held on October the 4th of 2007. Mr. McGuinty seems to have decided that he's just going to campaign and have photo opportunities and go out and engage in partisan gamesmanship for the next year. And I say to him, given the state of your record, sir, given the number of things you have not delivered on for autistic children and for people in hospital emergency rooms and for farmers, and I could go on and on, get back to governing. There's time to govern and deliver some results for the people of Ontario. That's what you're there to do. I don't know, but there he is right there. John, I just want to say this to you. I don't know if, first of all, thank you for coming. And secondly, I don't know if you've decided yet to go again, but I just want you to know, I'm told you have, and that's good. And I want you to know I will be there for you as I was before, and we're going to give it a go whenever it comes. Before or after the provincial election, I will be there. Good on you. 19 months ago, the people of Dufferin, Peel, Wellington Grey honoured me by electing them as their member of provincial parliament. And throughout that exciting by-election campaign, I was honest and straightforward with them. And I told them that in the general election of 2007, I would be seeking re-election to the legislature in the city that I've always called home, the city of Toronto. But what a wonderful learning experience I've had these past 19 months, representing largely a rural and smaller town riding. I have lived their issues. I have worked hard to represent them, and I have seen firsthand the neglect that our farmers in small towns have experienced under the McGuinty Liberals. They have taught me so much, so that I am better able now to represent the priorities of both rural and urban Ontario. And so I want to begin by saying a word of thanks to the people of Dufferin, Peel, Wellington Grey, who welcomed me, who placed their confidence in me, and who have been urging me, quite frankly, ever since then, to stay in that riding. And frankly, that would have been easier. And I will, of course, continue to represent them to the best of my ability until the last day of this term. And I will never, ever forget the wonderful privilege that I've enjoyed of representing those people and those towns in Dufferin, Peel, Wellington Grey. In Toronto, where I live and where I grew up and where I sought the mayoralty because I cared so much about this community, its challenges, and its future. And that's not to say I can't care more or care less about other parts of the province. I have a responsibility to, in my position as leader of this party, to represent all parts of Ontario, but I care very much about the town that I call home. And unlike Mr. McGuinty, I happen to believe that it is important to honour your commitments, to keep your word, to do what you said you would do, even if it's difficult. In fact, especially if it's more difficult. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Valley West is the riding and the community where I've lived almost my entire life. This is the community where Barbara and I raised our family. The community that is at the very center of this city, a city which must itself be strong if Ontario is to be strong. This is a community that has always made me feel at home, the community that has given me so much. And now I want to give something back to this community. I want to give something back to Don Valley West. And so I'm here tonight, very pleased to announce that in the provincial election to be held exactly 1 year from today, I will be seeking the nomination as the Progressive Conservative candidate in Don Valley West. That members of my family are here tonight. My parents, who are sitting right here in the front row, they make their home in Don Valley West. My father, John, and my mother, Liz, who have contributed so much to this community, especially at Sunnybrook Hospital, over decades of volunteer service. And I'm so proud of them, and I'm so proud that they're here and that they make their home in this riding. It was our home. It's still my family home. My son, John, and his wife, Melanie, who I'm also both very proud of, just bought their first home in Don Valley West. Actually, the Royal Bank really has control of it, but they're allowed to live. Speaking of the Royal Bank, my sister Jennifer, who lives in the riding and who is the Toronto president of the Royal Bank, and she is now the chair of the Sunnybrook Foundation. Again, someone who's very involved in her community, in our community. And my cousin Suzanne, who's also here, who's also been someone very involved and has lived her entire life, well, with a few years spent overseas in this community. I was born in this riding. I attended public school at Bedford Park School. I played sports, not particularly well, but I played sports. I attended Cubs and Scouts and Sunday school in Don Valley West. After Barb and I married, our first apartment was in the riding. Our children were all born in the riding. All 4 of them attended Blythewood School. I was a beaver leader when they were young. Now, the sight of me in that outfit, I assure you, was a sight to behold. All told, I have lived almost 48 years of my life in this community, right in this riding. And beyond that, I have been active in Flemington Park, in Thorncliffe Park, and other neighborhoods in the riding, as a volunteer for organizations like the Salvation Army and the United Way, grappling with some of the very special problems faced by those uniquely challenged areas and trying to do something about it. As a candidate for the mayoralty of the entire city, and now as a leader of a political party for the entire province, I have always made time. I've always made time to address some of the special concerns of Don Valley West. And now, I will work hard to earn the opportunity to make the biggest difference of all as MPP and hopefully as the Premier of Ontario. 3 years ago this week, Dalton McGuinty was elected with a majority and a mandate for change. He made promise after promise to anyone who would listen. Now that was 3 years ago. Where are we today? Promise after promise lie broken. Each broken promise more than a disappointment, but leaving real people hurting in the wake of those broken promises. It is clear 3 years on that Dalton McGuinty never intended to keep those promises. It is clear now that he was prepared to say anything, anything at all, and do anything just to get your vote. That is not right. That is not fair to you. It is not fair to the rest of the people of Ontario, and I would argue it is not good enough for the people of Ontario or the people of Don Valley West, and that is not the standard that we're going to demonstrate as a leader of this party or as a candidate in Don Valley West. It's just not fair. Seniors on fixed incomes, many of whom I've spoken to, who have witnessed in this riding and elsewhere across the province these skyrocketing assessments and property taxes that in many cases threaten to force them out of their homes. It's not good enough for the patients that I have met as I've toured across the province in hospital after hospital, including the ones right next door at Sunnybrook Hospital, where I have seen at Sunnybrook the permanent numbers affixed to the wall, marking the places where the stretchers are day after day, holding patients who've been waiting 4 days admitted to the hospital, trying to find a bed, and thus backing up those emergency rooms so it produces the kind of crisis. And Mr. McGuinty's response is to say, just hang in there. Easy for him to say. It's not good enough for the families in Flemington Park who continue to live in fear of the gangs and the guns and the drugs on their streets. It's not good enough for those parents, many of whom I have met, who just want to see their children escape that cycle of violence. Entire neighborhoods who are waiting to see some real investments and some real change. I've been on the streets and in the courtyards of Flemington Park, and I've called for more programs for kids and families, just as I have stood in front of the courthouse on University Avenue and called for stiffer sentencing for those who have broken the law. Because that's part of respect for community safety, respect for the law, and restoring a sense of security in all of those communities across Don Valley West, Toronto, and all across Ontario, and that is a vital priority for me, a vital priority. While Dalton McGuinty isolated himself in the comfort of the Premier's office, I have been on the streets, in the communities of this riding and across this entire city and this entire province, listening and learning with real people, speaking up for them about community safety and about real opportunity. 3 years ago, Dalton McGuinty promised, you remember, he looked into the camera and he said over and over again on those advertisements, actually prepared by the people that to date have $16 million in contracts of taxpayers' money. They prepared those ads in which he said, I will not raise your taxes. And yet, within a year of his election, he didn't just raise taxes, he hit Ontarians with the largest single tax increase in our province's history. Dalton McGuinty's grab for cash has taken money out of the pockets of every one of those very same hard-pressed families I was just talking about, including the working poor. People who were told they had a champion, people who are now betrayed. We cannot go on just hoping these problems will go away on their own or hoping things magically get better for the working poor. That means real leadership in revitalizing these neighborhoods, all of them, and making sure that low-income earners don't face disincentives to work or tax laws that treat them unfairly. And it is also why I remain tonight more committed than ever to rolling back the illegal, illegitimate McGuinty health tax. Having imposed that tax, contrary to the law as it stood and contrary to his own word, Dalton McGuinty also said, well, don't worry every single penny of that. It's one of the 50 election promises I spoke about that are broken that I talked about in the legislature today. And he said every single penny of that tax will go into healthcare. And that's another broken promise, but he said that that money would be used and all of his efforts would be used to improve your healthcare. And yet under Dalton McGuinty's selective healthcare, the vast majority of Ontarians apparently don't count. As I mentioned, I have visited hospital emergency rooms here in Toronto and province-wide. And I've spoken to the people who've had to sit with family members 6, 8, 10, 12 hours just to see a doctor for important care. Does that sound like Mr. McGuinty's promised improvements to you? I've listened to seniors and others who are among the 1.2 million people in the province of Ontario who don't have a family doctor. I've received calls, I've received letters, emails from some of the thousands of Ontarians who are still waiting month after month after month for vital medical procedures, families for whom Mr. McGuinty's claims of results and his rhetoric ring very hollow indeed. And of course, for all of the waiting lists he will want to point us to, where he claims there have been improvements, he doesn't talk about the new waiting lists that are arising for people who need other kinds of procedures not covered by the things he has chosen to cover in his selective health care. 3 years ago, Dalton McGuinty promised to restore dignity to politics and stop wasting taxpayer dollars. I'm sure he had his fingers crossed when he made that one. because the partisan games and the wasteful spending continue. I asked about it in the legislature today and yesterday. Millions and millions of dollars. You've seen the ads are being spent right now as we speak on partisan TV ads that actually have people springing up from their chair and marching in on time to the doctor's office for an appointment. There are 1.2 million people in this province that don't even have a doctor. What do they think about those ads? And millions more, as I pointed out a moment ago, of course, being funneled to liberal backroom advertising agencies to redraw Ontario's Trillium symbol, or to fiddle with the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation's brand. I said today, produce the research which shows the clamor of Ontario citizens to say, redraw that trillium, get rid of that C in OLGC. We want you to spend tens of millions of dollars of our hard-earned money doing that. That's the priority. Don't hire nurses, don't help autistic children, don't help the farmers. Change the Trillium logo and change the OLGC logo. I said today it was obscene, and it is obscene. We'll stop it. In writing to help the families of autistic children. He made a solemn pledge to those families, and they thought they had a champion. And now he has not only abandoned those families, and I stood today in the legislature and read some letters that they've sent me from these children who are among the most vulnerable children who need the most help, and the parents who face some of the biggest challenges of any people living in our province. But he's taken them to court. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money to take those same parents to court that he promised help, only so that he could assert the right in court to break his own promise. What kind of a premier is this? What kind of leadership is this? Mr. McGuinty's broken promise to the families of autistic children added to their hardship and struggles that they already faced. And that, to me, ladies and gentlemen, is not integrity, and it's not leadership. It's not leadership. Electricity plants, garbage, municipal finances, the list of broken promises goes on and on. And I said in the legislature just about an hour ago, there can be only two explanations with respect to the breaking of these promises. Either Mr. McGuinty failed utterly to ask the kinds of questions about how much it would cost, or whether it could be done, or whether it should be done, in which case he has failed a fundamental test of leadership, or he asked those questions, got whatever answers he's got, and decided to make those promises anyway, knowing they couldn't be kept or shouldn't be kept. And either way, that is not the standard of leadership that people are entitled to in this province, and it is not the standard of leadership they're going to get from a progressive Conservative government. Lead ministry. Well, I tell you, we need only come as far as my riding. And the Mayor of Orangeville is here tonight, and I think there are others. And they will tell you that he has cut hundreds of millions of dollars in support for our farming families, many of whom themselves are facing very, very desperate times in this province. Dalton McGuinty claimed he would be a premier for all Ontarians. And yet today the families in the town of Caledonia, First Nations and non-First Nations alike, are living in fear due to a failure on his part to uphold the rule of law and show respect for the law and show respect for the rule of law. That too is a fundamental failure of leadership on the part of Dalton McGuinty.
Yes, right.
Well, my friends, Mr. McGuinty gave running on his record a test run in the Parkdale High Park by-election. It lasted about 2 weeks before they started the drive-by smearing campaign. It lasted about 2 weeks. He's deep on rhetoric but paper thin on results. And so I would say that after 3 years of dithering, 3 years of broken promises, 3 years of failing to get results, 3 years of doing exactly the opposite to what he said he would do, if you want to run the election campaign, Mr. McGuinty, on your record, bring it on. Bring it on. Charity and community organizations. I have plenty of experience in government and politics as well. What I want to do for Ontario as your next premier is what I want to do for Don Valley West and for all of Toronto as the MPP for Don Valley West. I want to unlock the incredible potential of this riding and this city and this province to help more and more people, new Canadians, old Canadians, people of every background, every religion, every culture, and every way of life, to find those better jobs and build that better future right at home. I'm motivated by two pretty simple but very powerful principles. First, we absolutely must, and we believe this as progressive Conservatives, give the risk takers and the entrepreneurs the climate and the tools that they need so that they will invest and create real jobs. Government doesn't create wealth. Only entrepreneurs and risk takers do. Government creates some jobs, shouldn't really create all that many. But people who are prepared to take a risk, who have an idea, those are the people that create the real lasting jobs that our kids need. And it's going to take a progressive Conservative government to unlock the power and the potential of Ontarians to create the prosperity that people across this province expect and deserve. But it's not going to happen automatically. It never has. It never has. There are going to have to be the right kinds of plans put in place and the right kind of changes made so that we can continue to be prosperous. And why do we want to be prosperous? Well, we want to be prosperous because it is going to help our kids to have good jobs and so forth and so on, but I want to make sure as well that this prosperity has a much higher purpose. And that is to create wealth so that we can share that wealth in the form of even better public services, like healthcare and education and transportation, and so that we can always offer a hand up to those who seek only the chance to pursue the very same opportunities as everyone else. These principles are what Ontario has always been about. Always. They're what I'm all about, and it's what the Progressive Conservative Party is all about. This is what our party stands for. This is what our party has always stood for through all of the years. And ladies and gentlemen, we're on course. Our party is organized and united. We've come back from where we were. I look forward to running alongside what I know I can tell you will be a terrific team of candidates province-wide, including an outstanding slate of candidates here in the GTA and in Toronto. Thanks to the effort and the generosity of party members, we're on track to eliminate our party debt by the end of the year. bits and pieces of it this morning. Imagine George Smitherman, who's out there and has the time to give interviews commenting on what I was or wasn't doing. You would have thought he had the doctor shortage totally fixed in the emergency room crisis. He has time to give these silly interviews instead of attending to his job as Minister of Health, where there are fires burning all over the place. But we can only expect that our opponents are going to ramp up the rhetoric and the political games in the coming year, as opposed to governing and getting some things done as they should do. We will have 3 by-elections to contest in the very near future. We have a lot of work to do. But I know that we can do it. I also know that I need your help. My colleagues in the caucus, who I thank for being here tonight, and for being there with me each and every day in the legislature and everywhere else in this province, we all need your help. The candidates who we nominate will need your help. But I think if we start here tonight, and we don't let up for the entire 365 days to come, that on October the 4th, 2007, 1 year from today, we will see the election of a new progressive Conservative representative for Don Valley West and a new government for all of Ontario. I know